All right. So we're going to call to order the meeting of the Fairfax County History Commission Inventory Committee to conduct this meeting wholly electronically and to effectuate both the emergency procedures authorized by FOIA and the emergency ordinance. This board needs to make certain findings and determinations for the record. The audibility of members' voices. Because each member of the board is participating in this meeting from separate locations, we must verify that a quorum of members is participating and that each member's voice is clear, audible, and at an appropriate volume for all other members. Accordingly, I'm going to conduct a roll call and ask each board member participating in this meeting to state your name and the location from which you are participating. I ask that you pay close attention and ensure you can hear your colleagues. Following the roll call, we will vote to establish that we can hear one another. And so we're going to start with Ann Stuntz.
I'm here just outside Vienna in Fairfax County. I'm Ann Stuntz.
Barbara Nave.
Barbara Nave here in Reston, Virginia.
Tanya Sanarino.
I'm here in Mount Vernon, Virginia.
Did I manage to get your name right?
I think so.
Close.
I answer to a lot of things, so.
Yeah, you'd think mine would be easy enough, but actually lots of people get that one wrong. And that, so let me, I guess, call Jordan Tannenbaum and note that he is absent. And similarly, Sally Lyons is also absent this evening. And Lise Murray is also absent, and she's actually absent on a leave of that. And Elizabeth Crowell, should I call you Liz? Are you formally a member of this committee?
I don't think staff are members of any committee. They can be big participants, but not voting members.
Well,
Want
I'm here in Alexandria, Virginia.
Okay. Yeah, actually, we should. Since you are participating, we should actually ascertain that we can hear you, just as a matter of our routine, and that's
a good idea.
So, all right.
And
yourself? And I'm Cheryl Rapetti, and I am here in Centerville. At this point, I'm going to pass the virtual gavel to our vice chairman. We'll use Ann, so that I may be heard to make the requisite motion. I move that each member's voice may be adequately heard by each other member of this board.
I second.
Okay. Any opposed?
Wait.
Moving forward. Sorry? Oh, yes, we need to have ayes, right? You need extra vote.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Anybody having problems? All right. Sorry. The need for the electronic meeting. Second, having established that each member's voice may be heard by every other member, we must next establish the nature of the emergency that compels these procedures, the fact that we are meeting electronically and what type of electronic communication is being used, and how we have arranged for public access to this meeting. Therefore, I move that the state of emergency caused by COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for this board to physically assemble, unsafe for the public to physically attend, and that as such, FOIA's usual procedures, which require physical assembly of this board and the physical presence of the public, cannot be implemented safely or practically. I further move that this board may conduct this meeting electronically through a dedicated phone line, and that the public may access this meeting by WebEx virtual meeting. The attendee call-in number is 1-800-44-621-3956. And the access code is posted on the Fairfax County Public Meeting Calendar website. It is so moved.
I second all of that.
Right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. And then finally, it is required that all matters addressed on today's agenda must address the state of the emergency itself, are necessary for the continuity of Fairfax County government, and or statutorily required as or necessary to continue the operation and discharge of this board's lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities. It is so moved.
Second.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. And now we actually can get down to business. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, I have to say, I apologize. I just literally walked in the door. My day got kind of blown away because my husband's number came up for being vaccinated.
Oh,
Oh,
good.
So we just, we grabbed the opportunity and it kind of moved my day away, or at least my afternoon.
for a
So
good
we are
reason.
we are here to contemplate, and I know Denise sent an email with, I think, a specific, I think first up on our agenda, which didn't get sent out, is
The Goldsmith House.
a consideration of a property for nomination to the that has been nominated for the inventory.
Mm-hmm.
That is,
Goldsmith House.
thank you.
You're welcome.
And the email that she sent very recently was really helpful. That was great. Thank you, Denise.
Gave back more background.
Yeah, and that I haven't had a chance to look at. So, who wants to talk about the house?
Anne has visited it. Anne should be the talker because she told me today she actually walked down and saw it in person.
Oh,
I said Denise Dressel sent me. And, and
I did. I said, you live right there. You should go take a walk.
That's right. And she did.
yes. Look, it's, the walk was, I mapped my walk.
oh,
So
very good.
It really is close. The only thing I've never laid eyes on is close to it my whole life, minus a few years. And because it was always down that long driveway that said private drive, I just never went down it, which is not like me. Denise gave me courage to do it. So we went on a snowy day, and it's a modest house back there in the skinniest, you can see the skinniest little lot you've ever seen. I think, did the information we have on what you're thinking about in terms of the long skinny lot into 3 or something? That's relevant to this conversation, but I know that part of what you wrote, Denise, at some point was that Elise had expressed that she didn't want to accept it and then tear it down right away. So one thing we seem to do in this group, but haven't got it in my head to do it, is we, as you guys do it, we each individually are supposed to make judgments on this based on our evaluation sheet.
I did. I filled mine
I
out
didn't look
today.
at. I didn't even look at it. I apologize. I was just so happy to read the whole thing. So Tammy, you want to walk us through the evaluation sheet? If it's
I
in
was
front
going
of
to
you?
say, yeah, I was going to say, I actually printed it on paper, which is
Whoa.
shocking. I know. So the first page is just reiterating what's in the document. So it's, period of significant, type of building, period of significance, which is 1918. And then which of the criteria of significance, and it was embody the distinctive characteristics of a type, period, or method of design construction. So that's the first page there. The second page is evaluating the significance. And so the first item is there a persuasive narrative supporting criteria of significance? And then there's the excellent, very good, good, fair, and poor.
So let's take the, whoops. Did I just lose it again?
Wait, take that in order or something? That would,
Yeah,
well, just go over all the questions so we know what to expect. So there's that.
Okay, so there's the persuasive narrative supporting criteria of significance. There's our primary documents used in the research. Completeness of nomination, pictures, maps, bibliography, etc. Historical research supports criteria of significance. So that's everything on this page. And then the next page has the seven aspects of integrity.
Oh, right.
And then the final page is the historical associative value, which is history, person, architecture, craftsmanship, and archaeological potential.
Okay.
so
Thank you.
You guys want to do that as a group exercise? If
Yeah.
yeah, just go through each and I think the last one that you all did, you did like that. You just went through and each question and decided as a group.
In person, at a table, in the same room.
yeah, I think
No, it was over Zoom or
Zoom
WebEx.
is my first meeting, yeah, or maybe my second meeting.
Yeah, we
I
did
guess so. I'm okay.
Briarwood. Yeah, the Tippett House in Providence, Briarwood.
Briarwood, that's right.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Sorry.
No, that's okay. It was an easy one. It went very, and Dovetail did that one as well, did the submission as well.
Oh, I didn't connect that they both were done by Dovetail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is very thorough, certainly.
Yeah,
Thorough.
they do good work.
Yes, yeah.
No, I disagree. They don't need to know what they didn't put in, but what they didn't flesh out of an autobiographical, just a little bit of information about 4 big names in the area. I mean, it's just shocking to me that Cummings, who established the first steel plow factory in the world or something, was called a farmer. I mean, they are dismissive. The whole reason Vienna, Virginia is called Vienna, Virginia is because of Peter Hendricks, who's called a farmer. I mean, they just keep, that doesn't, I would suggest that, I suppose, is our job to make this as good as it can be, because the point of this is not that cool people lived here. The point of this is that it's significant for the reason they say it is, which
That's
isn't
true.
the people who lived in it.
Which isn't the people. Yeah.
We could mark it up a little bit just so that the historic record isn't so pathetic.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to beef it up much, but I just think it's good to say a little. Josiah Bowman was a Pinkerton during the Civil War. He was very cool. He's not just
Bowman
a
is-
farmer.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
when,
I just kept going, what?
Are we talking about this property?
Sorry.
yeah.
So maybe
we're talking
in your
about the
evaluation
others.
form, you could fill that there's a note section in your evaluation form, Ann, and if you could fill in
I have
those
to find
details.
my evaluation form first. Where is it?
It's on.
I'm sorry.
It's
Is it
dropped.
online?
Yeah, it's in the share file folder.
Yeah, it is right next to this document.
Right.
I didn't even
Yeah.
look.
And it would be good to have that biographical detail for the actual inventory write-up.
Yeah, record that yeah,
The
so that
record.
we keep. So if I would love that information for the record.
That would be really good.
But you're right, the associative value, they were not talking about people at all. So,
No, they weren't.
I'm not going to write for them. I'm going to give suggestions for corrective research.
For them to research better.
But that's not, but associative, as I understand it, was not the
no,
criteria. So, Anne, if you want to add, because you know Vienna, then you need to put it in yours at the bottom, in your thing. Just write what you just said so it's on the record.
I don't think it's right. I don't think it's correct. I think they need to correct their if they're going to make these statements, they ought to be correct. And they're not correct.
So
I'm happy to give them some pointers, but you know, when I'm reviewing people's for other groups like this and for other things, I mean, I just tell them where the problems are, and I mean, they could take it all out because it doesn't matter, and then where would we be? I don't know. I'll wrestle with that a little bit later.
So I'm sorry, I'm not following. Are we talking about the Goldsmith House?
Yes.
Yes, but
Yes.
don't worry, because all I'm saying is I heard the comment from a voice that said how nicely it was written, and I said, oh, but it is missing some pieces that I consider important if you're going to use the names of the people who live there, just to and if you're going to say anything about describing them, you ought to say it what I would consider more correctly.
So you're saying that actually
But that's not.
So I was just a little confused because because you mentioned Civil War and Pinkertons and looking at 1918. So you're saying that
Yeah, she's into biographical history, and we're looking at the house history. And so my perspective is that's interesting, and you can put it in the file, but that shouldn't affect the nomination of this house because of that's not the criteria.
Yes, I'm not going to use it to judge whether this house belongs on this or not. I am only answering the question of what I consider the quality of the submission. I think it's lacking in a couple of places, and it's got some incorrect things on the maps. So,
Okay.
but that's, I mean, we can still have a very full and fair conversation about it. But yes, when I find the evaluation and fill it out, it needs some, it's got some a little bit of misleading information there.
okay, but it's
So we want it. It becomes
want-
the permanent file. It might as well be good.
Sure. Oh no, absolutely. But what you're saying is it isn't. You're not saying that the house is significant because of who lived there, and that they've missed any.
You're not saying.
Well, I know they aren't saying it, but is that a legitimate basis on which to consider the nomination of this house? Or it sounds like most of the people who were significant owned the property, but not the house.
I think that's a fair statement.
Yeah, they predated.
About right.
Yeah, I'm looking at the, because,
I think that's
okay. Because
that's a good point. But we can make the background better.
yeah,
And
that's
so
fine.
I will make that recommendation.
So the criteria that they are recommending that this house be considered is why is it historically significant according to the nomination?
It's embody the distinctive characteristics of a type, period, or method of design or construction.
And
that's vernacular.
Right.
And that's just like it's an old house is basically what they said.
Yeah, they thought it was a kit house, and they did some research, and it has some qualities of the kit houses, some similarities, but as far as they could tell, it was not a kit house.
And as I read, that was speculation that perhaps the builder was aware of kit houses and may have had that in his mind, but that it's a separate, as far as we know, unique, unless he built some others like that, but we don't have them, correct?
So So it isn't a typical, I mean, if it's a unique sort of form,
I don't know.
then it doesn't exemplify a type.
It's a farmhouse from 1918.
So the statement of significance is on page 13 of the nomination, or if you're going by PDF, it's 17 of 48.
17 of 48?
In the PDF, it's and then the nomination form, it's page 13 in the right upper right-hand corner.
Yeah.
The significance actually starts on page 12, yeah, on the printed version.
Rectangular plan, vernacular style.
What specific kind of vernacular style?
Rectangular plan.
One of the few examples left of this property. Mind you, my house was built in 1917.
Oh, is that right?
But it's not farm. And it's still here. And yeah.
Do you have a hip roof like this one?
Yours is
It's very different.
Greek Revival.
Mine's not vernacular.
Yeah, it's yours. It's not vernacular.
The architect designed. There are, between here and there are a few, a 1910, a 1907, but there's nothing like it. There's just nothing like it. And frankly, every other house on the street is going to disappear very soon. So its rarity will only intensify because they are starting to build these a lot of houses, new houses on they're wiping out, as usual, the early 20th century houses between here and Oakton as quick as they can. So what's he saying? It's one of the few examples left of this property type and form within this area.
Okay.
Modern development encroaching from all directions.
And
Not the work of a master, no known association with an important event or individual.
so I guess the question, how convinced has he persuaded Barbara, you and Tammy and Anne, have you guys all think that this actually is a significant example of this type of vernacular construction?
And within terms of the county, not national perhaps, but yes, I would say.
I was convinced of that, and I'm used to looking at, things that are significant because of the people who live there. So this is a little bit different for me. But then when I think about the time period, it really is the time period, and we don't have very many things that are of that style, of that period left. There is one over here in the Mount Vernon area. It looks very similar to this. It's called Danewood, and that's not on the inventory either. But it is singular. I can't think of another house in our Mount Vernon district that looks like that one either. And so I think it is worth putting on the inventory for that reason.
I do feel like we're at a point in this county that I just embrace these applications for these older homes that are becoming, they're not, this one, that's like you say, I've never seen one like this. It is really quite an unusual little house. Um, um, but 20 years ago we might have said, but rarity is big for me. Are we allowed to be rare? Is rarity the right thing? Because it's rare.
Yeah, no, I think that that's a legitimate, I mean, if it may be a house that once upon a time was not, as you say, 20 years ago or 50 years ago, you might not have thought twice about the style of architecture or housing, because it looks fairly commonplace, and now it becomes unusual, unique or worthy of consideration, because
It's a survivor. It's a survivor, and therefore it's rare.
Yeah, we
Right now in 2021, it's a survivor and it's rare. That's how I would describe it.
I mean, we had
I like
an argument like that for there's a shed that's associated with a building in Centerville, and it's like, yeah, everybody had one of these outbuildings behind their house. They were like a dime a dozen, but now you don't see them. So
Right.
This property has a 1918 chicken coop and a 1918 what's the other?
2008. No,
2008.
2008.
For the chicken coop?
yeah,
I was surprised. The chicken coop and the other outbuilding.
I misread it then. I apologize.
I misread it at first too, and I thought that's not that old, but
It's an interesting
design-
thing that's what was
my
added.
eyes have on it. So
Yeah.
the house. Do you guys know where the old Cox's farm stand is across from me on 123 in Vienna?
Yeah.
It has a 1915-ish house, but it's a very different design. So,
Mhm.
our inventory could stand both. Not that they're ever going to put it on, but it will go down well before anybody thinks about it as historic. There is a sprinkling of these older homes between here and Oakton. Like I say, it's just not going to last, and none of them look quite like this.
Right.
Yeah.
So we agree on
There's
this
one I
page.
might show you though.
Do you want to give that evaluation excellent, very good, good, fair, or poor, or do you want to sort of have it be pass fail?
I would do good.
yeah.
I would do good.
I'm pretty sure that you do not find a rectangular vernacular home in the field guide from American Homes.
Well,
If somebody holds me up against a wall, and of course Denise can jump in, but when I look at the pictures of it, it's similar to a Foursquare.
I would agree, and it just has that addition on the back. Yeah.
it's like the Clark House shrunk.
Yeah, but the Clark House is higher style.
Oh, I know, but I'm talking about the Foursquare.
It's like McDonald in Drainsville Tavern, by the Drainsville Tavern. The McDonald.
I know that house very well.
Yeah, it's like that one.
I mean, it seems to be smaller.
Okay, I'm convinced.
All right.
I was skeptical, so you all have convinced me.
I think, if I may just jump in here, I think that the struggle that we're having is by looking at it only as an architectural type and not looking at it as in the context of the Vienna history and the Vienna development. So I would actually argue that they've really made more of a case for the cultural, economic, social, political, and historic heritage of the county rather than this architectural style. I see it being more significant in the context of Vienna's history, in the sense that, it as Anne has pointed out, there are several houses that were built in 1915 or in this time period. So it seems to me that development trend that's happening along Cambridge Road, and it might not, you know, as far as a distinctive characteristic of a style, I'm not sure that hits that bar, but I do think that it's definitely part of that development history as Vienna is growing up and growing in, moving away from its agricultural roots and into a more suburbanized, especially right along that road frontage.
Yeah, you're breaking up the farms and people. Yes,
So it's more the period
Yeah.
of construction rather than the type.
Well, I would just say that if you go back to the first page where it says inventory of historic sites criteria for significance,
Oh, right.
I would think that it's more, it would fall under that first one, exemplifies the cultural, economic, social, political, or historic heritage of the county.
Yeah.
I think it falls into this kind of broader context more than the actual architectural style.
And that's
I
actually
agree.
more consistent with what what people were talking about in terms of saying it's rare. It's less about the architecture than it is about the period of time.
The period.
Yes, exactly, Cheryl. Yeah.
Yeah, the dairy farming to suburban transition. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I actually have read, I read this a while ago, and I was very underwhelmed by the architectural, description. It wasn't very compelling. And I was like, well, if everybody else feels that, as the rarity argument, I was kind of persuaded, but Denise is putting that perspective in a different perspective. So would we then have to send this back to them and say, hey, why don't you take a look at the history of Vienna a little more closely?
Well, how do you, should you all continue to evaluate it, but evaluate it on that first criteria that I just talked about, sort of a developmental, the period of time, rather than that the embodies distinctive characteristics.
That makes sense.
And because it seems to me that the narrative supports the first one better.
Okay.
And then if you need more information about the time period, maybe you go back to them and you say, hey, we'd like a little bit more information on this, or
And Barbara, what do you think about that shift?
That's fine because it's broader, and at least Denise has made a good
I think that's a good comment.
defense of changing it. And can we change that as the committee and say we're going to look at it at this criteria rather than this, because with that, I agree when you explain it that way.
Yeah.
So, and they have bits and pieces in here, like I would say on page 10 of the printed version, at the bottom of the page is where they start to make the arguments that fit into the other criteria, which is during the mid-20th century, you've got an expansion of utilities, transportation, urbanization, and then you've got the topographic maps there. And so that almost could be moved over into the significance narrative, I think.
right. Is that
Becoming visibly more populated? Yeah.
number 9, history and significance? Is that when they start?
Yeah, at the bottom of page 10, which is technically in the history section, could be moved over into 9. So the history could be moved into 9 and beef up that argument.
Well, the question is if all the information is there, does it need to be physically moved, or can the committee consider it? Yeah,
I would,
It's a
the
question for the
committee,
committee, for the committee, excuse me.
the committee's considering it. The form is for us to help us evaluate, and if all the information is there, where we put it in the form is a committee. It's an internal thing. And as long as the nomination has the information, right? That's my interpretation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
From sending it back if we don't have to, because it's,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, that's my thought.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
You know,
And
this is what's important. This might, hello. The whole reason my house is here is because of the trolley line that opened in around 1904. And that came from Washington. It went right into Vienna and then came out at a funny little Y intersection to go up to Fairfax City. And so I know my grandfather built this house because he could walk a tiny little block to one of two streetcar stations. And I was just looking to see what station they were near, because that is relevant. And I mean, they kind of say it, or they, yeah, the expansion of utilities as well as available transportation such as trolley systems. Not trolley systems, the one that's outside their front door, practically. So,
Yes.
so yeah, it all just supports what you were saying, Denise.
Yeah, if you shift that narrative away from the architecture and move it into the context of what's happening in Vienna with the trolley. I mean, the person, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name, but he worked in DC. So how is he getting to DC? He was taking that trolley. I mean, however he got there, but the trolley got him there.
Right, he worked as a foreman for the U.S. Museum, which I was wondering, like, is that an early name for Smithsonian or something?
Yes.
Is
If it's
it?
U.S. National Museum.
In the Arts and Industries building.
Okay, that makes sense.
Most probably.
yeah, then the trolley development is really important then. And this is also suburban development. Yeah, that's the ticket for this.
Yeah, I think we just need to shift the significance and
Yep.
and then I think the case is there.
Yeah, we just
Thank you.
checked the other box.
Yeah, thank you.
We're getting it. Good.
That's good. So have we moved from good to very good with the change of?
Oh, sure, yes, go to very good.
It does become a much better argument.
I think so. I'm willing to go very good on the significance with that change.
Okay, me too.
That's a big change. Good, everybody.
Mm-hmm. That's very good.
Thank you, Denise.
Yes.
All right, so the next item on there is primary documents used in research.
For sure.
So there's lots of maps and marriage records. I'm looking at the bibliography.
Yeah.
Deed book, will book.
Yeah, they're using primary documents. U.S. Census.
Yep. Geological survey.
BC Columbia marriage records.
Mm-hmm.
Actually,
I think I would go very good on that.
Yeah, this is, I mean, it's well researched, although it may not have been well enough in terms of and standards and understanding about Vienna's history. I mean, that's part of the problem when you have consultants coming in; they just don't know
the area.
Yeah.
You know what it is, Cheryl. It's I just love to get outraged that when people haven't read my mom and dad's book. That's all. It's like strike against this group.
This was Vienna.
Well, that's actually, I mean, if that's a well-known secondary source, you know, for understanding the historical context. I mean, Yeah, I
Yeah,
looked at
they
it.
weren't. They may not have been in Vienna. People who are there who don't know the area, even people who do, think of it so much more Oakton-y. There's still more they could have done, but it's but there's I can see them missing it, and it's only sold in one place in the whole world, and that is the Freeman Store and Museum.
Oh, yeah.
Exclusive.
Right.
That's very good. Okay, so moving on to the next thing, completeness of nomination, pictures, maps, bibliography, etc.
Yes.
So since we don't ask for a floor plan, we can't whine about that. But it always happens to me. I go, oh, he's even talking about the floor plan of the kit houses versus this, but I still don't have the floor plan because
I know, I like the
they
picture
just
also.
say, and then you turn right.
Well, you have to match it with the photographs.
Yes.
I hate it.
All right, so we're in
But yes,
agreement
I
on
think
that.
That's
it's
fine.
a wonderful picture. Mhm.
Mhm. All right, and then the next one is historical research supports criteria of significance.
Well, now that we've changed it.
Now that
Change
we-
it, will say yes. Just draw a little arrow down.
Yes, yes, without the change, it just moved up the scale a little bit there, so that's good.
Okay.
That is good. Okay, so that is that page. The next page is integrity. And this will be interesting because there's, you know, the setting is one thing and so the different parts of integrity, just to give the overview before we go through it, is association, design, feeling, location, materials, setting, and workmanship.
Gee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we look at the house and not all these additions. The whole back area is
Right.
vinyl something.
Contributing.
No.
All
Nor is my 1918 chicken coop. God. But I get
I like the 1930 shed.
yes.
Oh, I see. I hadn't really appreciated how the back addition
The whole back there.
fitted on.
Yeah, that's actually a nice, kind of a neat way of adding on. They didn't really do much to alter the overall integrity of the building when they added that.
Right.
Exactly. It didn't. It. You don't notice it in person when you because there are people in there, so we couldn't walk around it. All we could do is see it from the front and get ready to run. And so you just did not even notice that there was an addition.
Which is good from the,
Yeah.
Yeah. It really does. It does. Now he or she makes other comments about in certain the doors have changed and other things like that. So it's it certainly isn't a preserved gem.
Right. So I was going to say I have the definitions from that integrity document. So if you want to know what any of these are, like design is the form, the plan, the space, the structure, and the style.
Yeah.
So do you feel like it keeps the form and structure of the original historic building?
My impression, not of course not from certainly looking from the outside, I do because I think it's got the crummy old windows and everything. And the inside's been messed around a little with the dining room and the pass through and stuff, but it's kind of hard to tell. But it's still got apparently those little bookcases and And the columns are original. The newel post and stuff, although maybe there's a change between the upstairs and the downstairs.
It probably has about 50% or more of its original fabric and.
Yeah, it's said they said it's drywall throughout, which I guess means somebody did a big renovation at some point, got rid of the plaster.
Yeah.
Right. So that would be, so from looking through it, it looks to me like the design has integrity, but the materials maybe not so much. Like they've changed some of the materials.
Yeah, it looks like you've got a lot of the original woodwork, even if they've changed. He said those are not original doors.
But he thinks one is, I forget where, and the front windows, the 2/2, and the wood edgings. I can't believe those aren't the originals.
I agree. What a funny little house. All right. So
they claim that the house retains a moderate amount of historic integrity of materials, design, and workmanship.
That's good.
Yeah. I agree with the more than half, which is relevant.
Its integrity is not stellar, but it's not bad either.
Right.
And that's what they're claiming. I mean, that sentence is theirs.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And the location, it has stayed in its same location. I mean, yeah, it's where it was constructed, so it's got to get, a check mark for that.
Yeah.
What about feeling?
Wait, what's that one called about? What did you just summarize?
It has not moved from its location.
Setting.
Location. Location is at the place where the historic property was constructed. So it hasn't been moved.
That part of, but right. But if it's moved, it's a whole different analysis.
Right.
The location, I think it's talking about, is this the one that's also talking about its setting generally?
No, because that's a separate one.
That's separate.
There's setting and feeling, which both kind of go to those things. So setting, I'll read the descriptions because I think they're, fine differences between them. So setting is the physical environment of the property. And then feeling is the property's expression of the aesthetic or historic sense of the particular period of time. Like would somebody recognize it who was from that time period? Like, would they recognize the building and say, oh, that's so-and-so's house, Goldsmith's house? So they wouldn't completely walk by it and not know what it was. So that's feeling, and then setting is the environment around it, I think. Topographic features, vegetation, relationship between buildings. So, yeah. So it sounds like that might have changed a lot because of construction.
One of those was where we look at encroaching development.
Right? Setting.
Well, I started out, a great deal of acreage, which it certainly doesn't have now. So.
Yeah.
I have my feeling, frankly, just looking at it, it didn't feel hemmed into me. Although there were, and in the summer, it must feel very, very much more remote because you don't see the houses around it. So here we are in the dead of winter, and you're aware that there's development around it, but it you're not on a big farm because there's fences on either side, like a railroad track. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It's not cheek by jowl with other houses.
That's good.
I think if you were using a comparison, you don't get the same feeling for it that you get at Ash Grove when you're there with all the townhouses around it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's hard to evaluate because I'm not looking at, you can see the contemporary photographs. The contemporary photographs give a feeling of a rural setting and an older house. I mean, your eye recognizes that that's, not, it doesn't look modern, it hasn't been updated or changed in ways that you're trying to find the older house in the, in newer masked by newer renovations. It does have that sort of integrity of design. And I think feeling, I don't know if it was on a larger property, what was the original acreage that was
160, is that right, or am I wrong again?
Well, I think when they built this house, though, it was, 1 point some odd acres, right? The house itself. They carved out a lot
From the acreage, right?
from the acreage to build this house.
That makes more, because that's more consistent with what you would think of for a suburban, probably, that it would be a small acreage, not a big.
Really, the lot really hasn't shrunk that much. So it was under this ownership of the Goldsmiths that the current house was likely built on its 1.14 acre lot,
Okay.
given the estimated date of construction for the house, blah, blah, blah. So, as far as.
That's not how I read.
So what did you think?
Okay.
I'm
I
on
thought I read
page
that the
9.
down to I thought I read that it got down to its sliver size in the 40s.
So I'm on page 9, Anne, of the, if you're going by the nomination, the page 9 of the nomination under.
I'm here.
Yeah, okay, under the map, under figure 2.
Yeah.
Libby and Abraham Stotts sold 1.14 acres of land to William H. and Mary L. Goldsmith. It was under this ownership of the Goldsmiths. So it seems like they were subdividing to give them this lot.
Yeah, I must have been dreaming because it's just very, I think I was dreaming when I read that part. So yeah, I see where you're reading it. Yeah, what a ridiculous size. You know what's interesting to me is they say that it got to this amount at some point, this size, but it doesn't adjust it. And my property adjusted it when when 123 was widened in the 70s. I lost a measurable part of an acre. I was trying to look at all the maps and see. I know they took more from my former property is the whole southbound lane of 123. So when you're driving on it, you can think of me playing ball there. But this is a tiny, narrow lot, but I would have thought it would have affected it a little bit, but apparently not, because it's still the same measurement for a long, long time.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it sounds like it has good integrity of setting. Location.
It's good enough integrity of setting. I would good is it's certainly not excellent or anything because it is on such a small lot.
However, that's how it was.
Yes,
So I mean that's so it
wasn't. But all you need to do is look at all the historic aerials from 1937 to know that it was in the middle of nowhere when it was built, even if its lot was small.
Right.
But I still think, it's fine. It's no longer looking out on fields, but it was originally never changed from this tiny thin strip,
Yeah.
so we're good.
So it's not encroached on yet. Right?
Yes, not yet.
That's the next.
Right. All right, so I think we've covered everything. Do we do feeling? The feeling, I mean, I think it probably would be recognized by its former owners.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I don't think they would have put that lattice work.
Yeah.
I was about to ask about the lattice work. If it's so remote and they have all that lattice work, maybe that's for breeze and light control. You know, to make shade.
Create shade, yeah.
Could be. Could be.
The middle of the wood.
Over there.
Middle of the wood.
Maybe there's something growing that grows up during the.
That's a
some
thing.
picture.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, clematis or something that we don't see at.
Oh, in the winter. Yeah, that's true. All right, and the last one that we haven't covered is association, which probably is not a big deal because of the significance on this one. Association is the direct link between an important historic event or person and a historic property. So we don't have that, but it's
Yeah, this is an NA.
Not-
Really.
it's the NA. Yeah, I agree. All right. That's good. So the next page is, this is evaluation of historical associative value. So this is sort of more about association. So it's history, person, architecture, craftsmanship, and archaeological potential.
So this would be about history.
Yeah. Yeah, so the association with the history of the area.
Right.
So, and they say they have like things to consider when you are assigning points for this, I guess, is or evaluation. Property is illustrative of a distinctive way of life. Underrepresented on the inventory. Is it ethnic or cultural minorities? Is it an unusually good representative of a type? Does it have visual prominence as a landmark? Probably not. Landscape features, rarity of the property type in context. I think that's where we would say yes.
Yeah.
It's sort of rare, yeah. And it may be illustrative of a way of life.
Mm-hmm.
True. Because of the trolley. Because of the.
There's a trolley, yeah. There are lots of train-based suburbs.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they made a good connection to the people who live there, but they're not of great note. I mean, they're, you know, everyday folks. So.
You know, I do think one of the front windows has been replaced, the middle one.
Yeah.
It's just different. It's not the same shape. It's like somebody threw a baseball bat through it and it needed to be completely redone. Not as nice as I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It's still all right though. We're still significant and an integral. Yeah.
Yep. So that's the last page, and I think in general our impressions were most of the things were in the good range, some in the very good, some in the poor, and not the poor, the fair, but
Yeah.
mostly in the good.
So
A little arch.
so it passes. So it passes.
Yeah.
I think so.
Now, you were saying, Denise, this is, okay, so that part is done, or do we end up voting, or do we just look at our paper and say, oh, look, this is the score it got based on our conversation?
That
So
means,
it,
doesn't that mean
Okay.
then it's passed and we
So-
present it to the commission?
That's now it goes to the whole, now what the vote coming out of this committee is that you're just moving it on to the whole commission for their consideration. But I would recommend
Good.
making, framing it that you're changing the criteria of significance because that's how you considered it.
Yeah.
that's a good plan.
So I guess also, so now that we've actually reviewed it, Denise, do we have, before we take it to the commission, do we have to go back to the nominee and say, hey, we've changed the criteria? Do they have to like agree to that first, or should we just change the criteria?
Well, that's a good point. This has not happened before, as I've, been the liaison. I think that would be a decision that you all should discuss, and maybe come to a conclusion. I'm not sure that they really care whether it's moved forward for architecture or for historical purposes. But it's really up to you whether you want to go back to them or not and tell them.
What if we just did an advisement that the committee is moving it forward for approval with the understanding that the significant criteria, the criteria of significance has been adjusted or expanded or whatever words you want to use. And that way we're notifying them, but it's not holding up our moving forward.
Right.
For the reasons that they're doing it.
Right. I think that is a consideration, that this nomination has been sitting out there for quite a while.
Yes.
So it's great that we're moving it forward. I would hate to hold it up any longer. I'd like to get it to the commission for consideration in April. You all have 30 days as a whole, a body of the whole, to consider it. So
you can send it out even,
right.
We can send it on Wednesday and say it's coming and this is what yes.
Right.
Sure.
And I can get back in touch with the applicant tomorrow and let them know that that's the decision of the committee.
Okay.
To move it forward, but they felt that you all felt that there was a different criteria that probably fit better under.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
And it actually you could present it in a way that it's expanding the significance a bit because it's putting it in the context of the full,
Yes.
of Vienna in 1918. So
Yeah.
it's makes it probably make them feel better.
I think it strengthens it. It
I do.
really does put it into context.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't even thought of it enough that way myself. So I love it that we've broadened our look at this. Now, I sent you that email today. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, Denise. This apparently the same owner, unless I missed that it's not the trust or something, owns the long skinny lot and the more normal rectangle next to it. And is that anything you're going to be asked to planning and zoning? Is that lot under consideration?
I went
care.
right when I went. I sent out that email to you all. I had sent that email when I sent out the nomination originally, and I think it was maybe November. I think so.
That one, yeah.
Yeah. I went back to review my notes to see if they talked about consolidating the lots. I can only assume that that's the intention. But I it's an assumption. None of my notes say anything about consolidation. So.
Yeah, you talked about it was to take this long skinny lot and divide it into 3.
Right.
Which would be an act of desperation. if you actually own a chunkier, more normal lot next door, you would just use it so that you could make a better site plan
Right.
for whatever new buildings you want to build.
Well, I'm wondering if there
I
might
mean,
be an RPA on that other lot or some other reason that it hasn't been developed up to this point. I did not investigate it that far. I just saw what you sent. So, and all of those things would be worked out in the development review process.
yeah. What a little orphan house that is.
But there's something sweet about the orphanness of it.
I like. Anne said to me, "Oh, it's so weird looking." I liked it. The windows aren't. I said it's not Georgian. It's vernacular, and they put the windows there. I mean, when you walk up to Vernon, the windows, he's got them. He did not do on the back side or the entrance, the non-water side. It's not exactly right. And on our docent tour, we were told that was because of how he wanted the door to go into the room. So he on purpose had it asymmetrical. So this little house is okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And actually, if you look at a lot of vernacular Georgian buildings, they'll have the facade that's symmetrical, but not necessarily the rear of the house. So it's how you're appearing from the street, not how you're appearing, or from the river or wherever you're looking at it from, rather than the whole thing.
Right.
Well, it's a little cutie.
All right. Well, if you all would send me your notes, your evaluation form, and then I'll add that to the file, and I can send. So, Cheryl? Are you acting as chair then?
I don't have to.
Yeah, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I'm just wondering who's going to be doing the distribution to the committee of the whole, to the whole History Commission, and making the recommendation that it be considered under the different criteria.
So we might want to decide that tonight as a committee, since we are here and we have a quorum. So, as far as I know at this point, this is on a leave of absence. And so, we do have other things to do as an inventory committee. And we called this meeting, Anne and I did, because two committee members can call a meeting in the absence of, when there's committee business to be done, in the absence of chair. So we want to appoint a temporary chair, and is there anybody who wants to volunteer for that role? I mean, I will certainly do it, if necessary, but I'm also more than happy to allow somebody else to.
I'm happy to do it, but I keep not finding the evaluation form. Where the heck is it?
Share file. It's in the share file.
I have to go back to the share file.
All I have is the nomination.
Yeah, that's what I see too in the share file. I'm not sure why I can't see the.
Is there some secret share file that you're not telling me about?
I'll send the link out again.
Denise sent it, but I'm not sure I still have it because I've had so many weird things happening. So I have a note. Check it. If I can't find it, go back to Denise and say, send it again.
I'll send the link out again. So you'll receive. So the share file contains the National Register Bulletin, the criteria that Tammy was going over, the form, and then whatever. It also has all of the nominations that you all are considering. So the Tolliver Carter Cemetery, Carter Tolliver, the Willie Preston,
which we've already done, right? We already did those.
You didn't move it forward. There's outlying things that you all need to do.
Oh dear, I forgot. Oh dear.
So maybe there's another meeting that we need to call to discuss those other two so we can move them on.
Let's do it. When do you want to do it? In a month?
That's a good idea to go ahead and put it on the calendar.
Yeah.
We had a
Ann,
full,
did you ever get that book? There was a book that you were looking for from the library about the surgeon, the Civil War
Oh, see,
surgeon.
exactly. So there were, thank you, Tammy. That's exactly what, there were things that people were going to go back and research, like to confirm statements that were made in the nomination.
Yeah, I started doing some research on about, I guess, press.
I have to say, I forgot completely about it.
Do you know what? There's a recording.
Parker, yes, right.
Because we all have lost our memory of that. We need to go back and watch the recording and see what we decided.
Oh, that's even worse. That's much more painful. So,
I went back and I ended up finding recordings of the CNC, and it's like, oh Lord, I'm still there.
It lives on. Okay, so should you want to schedule, let's
But
schedule the meeting? Is that
sooner than later,
That'd be
so you
good.
can clear it. You can clear. Are those the only two there? Those,
today is the first.
hang on, I'll look.
okay, Denise, thank you.
I think so, though.
I think too. Yeah. Was long discussion on them.
We moved Briarwood forward. So that is now on the inventory. A vote was taken by the whole commission.
Right.
But the other two were remain outstanding.
Okay.
And while I'm in here, I'll send you all the link again.
Thank you.
But thinking of that Civil War surgeon book, I did find a copy of it. If I was going to say,
Oh, good. Let me. Tammy.
Well, we'll have to see what
Tammy
what
has
the issues were that we couldn't send them forward,
right?
so that we don't start from scratch.
So the Pope's Head Farm nomination is still outstanding.
Oh,
I had contacted.
yes.
I contacted the owners and made arrangements for Susan Hellman and I to go on a
Right.
site visit. But then we had the surge, with the COVID, and the owners the owners contacted me and they said, let's wait. And we all said, that's fine. So
Just before Christmas, you and Susan were going to go like that Friday before you went on leave.
Yep, exactly. And everything was really starting to blow up with the virus. So that's on hold, and I think we all know that needs to happen, and it will happen when people are immunized and we get back to normal life. So
Right.
So the other two are the Tolliver Carter and the Willie
Oh,
Preston.
yeah.
We had a big discussion about him.
Yeah, and I do have notes about that meeting. I just don't have them here tonight.
No, I should too, but I don't know. I'll have to look.
Denise, if you could send them to me in case there was something I was supposed to do.
Yeah, I think there is, Liz.
Oh, it was.
I think so too. I just don't remember what it was. I've been, it's not an excuse. It's an explanation. We're
all that way, and you all. It's crazy.
Because I've just had my head wrapped up in hiring people. So.
It's a good thing to have your head wrapped up in.
Yes, it is.
It's
okay. So I'm right now, I'll share this share file so you all have it again.
Thank you.
So,
inventory folder.
So, what want to do the meeting then? Is a Monday night reasonable, or a first Monday night good for people?
As long as it's not the fourth Monday of the month.
So next
So
month
if we
is
went
an-
with the second,
yeah. Go ahead, Ed. I'm sorry.
if we went with April, that would be week month.
The 5th of April.
The 5th. That would be okay by me. How's it look for everybody? I think with Jordan, it's catch as catch can. He could have come, but
It's all right.
Want to go ahead and schedule it for 7:30?
Yes. Is that all right, Denise?
Yes, I just looked. It's fine. Thank you.
7:30. So now, in the meantime, we are going to get this house, the Goldsmith House, out to the group in time for them to review it and put it on the agenda for April.
And that would be the 7th, right?
And do we have to? Yeah. Do we have to do anything to it before we send it, or can we send it as is, or is that what said we were going to check on? Send it as is, but tell them we have revised. But the cover email could say we're looking at this criteria more, not the vernacular architect. Is that fair? Because then they'll look at it rather than us groping for it. They will just be able to go for it.
Well, tell them the committee has done that.
That's right. So that's what would be.
And then you also advise Denise, when she talks to these people, that this is what the committee did. Isn't that what we agreed to, I think?
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
So that's the easiest way to do it. So when it goes out, they just say, consider this altered
so where
significance.
Where do our evaluations are collected by Denise, or we share them with all of us?
They go to Denise for the file, right, Denise?
Yeah, I think the sharing is what happens in the committee. If you wanted to, you could send out the group evaluation with the inventory nomination to the whole commission, if that's what you wanted to do. That would be up to you. We've only done a group evaluation twice now, once with Briarwood and this one.
My view is fewer is better, and this is what the committee does. It's finished. We are making a recommendation. Off it goes, and it's up to if there's questions, we can answer them there. But there's no need. I mean, I'm thinking of limiting.
Right.
It's fewer things to do. They're more liable to get it all done.
Yeah.
Yes, they're going to rely on our expertise and brilliance.
That's right.
Right. Like every other committee. Oh, Cheryl, I think you're talking, but you are muted. I could see you moving your mouth.
Yeah, so like,
We're just ignoring you talking right over you.
We've moved on, Cheryl. Goodbye.
it's all right, guys. I'll go sit in the corner here. I'll be all right. No, I was just going to say our group evaluation could be, if we can write that or record that in some way so that we do have that in case there are questions, we can address that. I mean, I think Barbara is right, we can just say, this is the committee's recommendation, recommending that it be nominated under this criteria, leave it at that. But if there are any if there's a discussion or whatever, we have that group evaluation to refer back to.
Well, it's like
So,
it's like any board. If you think about, I'm thinking of the Park Authority board. It's the committees that do the work, and what they're bringing forth to the board is we are telling you this is the position, you vote up or down. That's what we're doing.
Right.
And that's essentially what this is about. So the committee's done its work. Here you go. So that's my perspective, but I think that it saves time.
the other related on that point, do we want the committee one for the file? So Tammy, if you scribble all over that one, send it.
I did.
to
I scribbled
Denise.
all
Is
over. I
that-
can scan it. I can scan it and send it to Denise. Sure.
Yeah, I think that's good.
And just again, in terms of our own paperwork, we have reinterpreted this nomination.
Reframed. I like that word.
Right.
Frame, good. There, right.
Reframed it. Do we need to actually have a record of a reframed nomination? Or is it okay that we just changed it? Do we need to reorganize the text and set it up, more appropriately? I know that they have a consultant to go back to the nominee and have them pay additional money to have them do that is problematic. Or is it fine for us to have this record and just note that we reframed it?
My perspective is that if it's in the records and it's there, then we're good. If it's in the file, if it's in the master file that gets put wherever Denise's group puts them, then
But when we're
okay.
asking the rest of the commission to take a look at it, we need to let them know about the reframing and where to look. So we probably need to just have some notes about the section that we were talking about on page 10 or something, just to take a look there for the more historic heritage of the county kind of business. I don't know. I feel like we have to tip them off a little bit to where to look.
Yeah, I just feel like if we are placing this in a record, Denise, in terms of the master file, that we do need to somehow indicate that it isn't the nomination in the form that we physically have it in right now, that we evaluated, that we changed, framed it. So we have to sort of like attach a cover sheet to it or something like that with that.
So I think that will be documented in two ways. One will be through the evaluation sheet, because clearly you all have evaluated under a different criteria. And then the second one is there's a formal letter that goes out to each to the nominators when an inventory nomination passes through the History Commission. And I think in that letter, this notation can be made. So it goes to the applicant, but then that letter is also kept for our file.
Right, that's what I'm saying. In the file will be the acknowledgement that this is what we did.
Okay, awesome.
It'll be two places where there's a record.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That sounds good.
Okay.
Do we have to make any decision or take any vote with regard to the, or was that all decided and we just now physically need to go and contact put it out on our website or whatever with regard to the plaque?
Yeah, where are we on the plaque?
Oh, the plaque.
That was with Denise, and now that she's at LOA, then can we move forward?
Well,
Sharon's done all the work.
so we have a design for the plaque,
Right.
and we we just need to let people know that there's a design, and I think we just suggest a couple of fabricators. Is that correct?
Yeah, so once again, I'm just gonna, and forgive me because the plaque is now 2 years ago, so I'm
Yes, it is.
all catching up to this one. I think a really good model for presenting this information is San Diego's, because they have on one side they have the template for the plaque that they have, and then on the other they have sort of an marching orders how to do it, and they give 3 suggested vendors, but then also say, you know, where you can go out and get your own. Well, these are just 3 that we know. So I can't remember who I sent San Diego's, but I'm happy to send it to the group again.
I think it's easy to make, but
Okay.
I've got it.
Okay. Good. Yes.
So
You, Anne.
here you go.
is that sharing your
Look,
screen?
And there's the template.
sharing my screen.
Look at you.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. I just think it's a really efficient way. It's
I wonder why it was still open.
it's a PDF. It's just posted on their website, and you can print it off, and you get the instructions and the template together.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think it's a really efficient way to present that information.
There we go.
And you know what? These are the 3 of these manufacturers are on the East Coast.
Oh, really?
One of them's the one we know.
Boom.
Are they
Yeah.
still in business? Are they still in business?
Yeah.
Well, Erie is, and we can check on the others.
Yeah.
Okay. So shall we just go ahead and do that?
Yes.
Yeah, I think.
Yes. Now, do we have to notify all these people since it's been 2 years since we said, guess what, you can do this?
I mean, I still have my file folder of people that contacted me. I don't know. I'm sure that other commissioners are being contacted as well. I think Anne mentioned a person or 2 that contacted her. I think that I don't think it necessarily. I think we decided that it didn't have to go to the whole commission as a vote, but just an FYI. So maybe once that flyer is created, you can distribute it to the whole commission, or just point them to the website.
Okay,
That sounds good.
sounds good.
Expedite it.
Yeah, and I will do that flyer because I have the graphics. Anyway, I do the plaque side, and all I just need are a list of vendors, and it sounds like we've got at least one of them already in San Diego.
Erie, right? Because Anne had recommended the vendor and somebody else recommended the same vendor. Anne, you're muted.
Not.
Yeah.
Clever lady.
It doesn't say muted.
That happened to me as well, but you were definitely moving your mouth and nothing. I heard no.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if anybody has a list or suggestions, we have Erie. I can look them up on the internet and get contact information. But if you have any other vendors to suggest, let me know.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes? Oh, good. I'll just send this forward again that Denise sent to you, to you, Cheryl. And so I'll double check these other 2, vendors and see if they're still alive.
I can
But
do
you
that.
just really want to give them some. You're okay to do that?
Yeah,
So they're right on here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be so keen on giving them the San Diego one, but the Malta, New York, and the Franklin, PA would be all right.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I think that.
Exciting.
Okay.
So look, I'll try and get this up on the website this week.
I'm happy to proofread anything.
All right, that's a good idea. I'll do that.
You're not perfect. People will be glad to see that, and we can just share. We can mop up the people who asked us earlier, and then we can
blame COVID for the delay.
I don't know. We can maybe
Blame COVID for the delay.
oh my
Why not?
God, yes.
Everybody else is blaming it for everything. Why not?
We should it would be good to get it out and about. Are we
Yes.
allowed to use social media to say, hey, anybody who's on the inventory, can we do that just individually? Because we don't have any social media.
No, I mean, for sure individually, but I was going to suggest, I know that both public affairs and our land use, we have like a land use and planning Facebook page. I'm not sure how many followers it has, but we could put it out there. But the public affairs, Fairfax County Public Affairs has often offered to put out anything, anything that we wanted disseminated. They said that they would do that.
That's what, because that is worthy of a press release, actually.
Yeah.
It's a big deal, and we have to reach a lot of the public, and we don't want to write them a letter.
Yeah. Well, another letter.
Right.
So, of course, you want to write them a letter.
So I can, once I have the flyer, I can get it to public affairs, and they'll just, they have whatever, a Twitter and a Facebook and a et cetera, all these other things. Yeah. Ways of getting that information out. And then the other thing I'll do is go back to my notes from the last meeting about the 2 outstanding nominations and pull those together for you all sometime before we meet again. So you'll have an
Thank
email.
you.
Yeah.
Sounds
So
good.
you don't have to go back and watch the meeting, but feel free to go back and watch the meeting.
We can also go back and skim through the meeting.
If you have insomnia.
If it's still up.
Yeah, no, it is. We now have a YouTube page that has all of the History Commission's videos. So every meeting
I
that
thought we
you,
had a deal. I thought we had a deal, Denise. Once we got the permanent minutes out, we could delete the videos.
I don't have control over this. This is what they've decided to do.
Oh dear.
Isn't that awful?
I know.
It is. It
Think
is.
of all the impolitic things that were said.
We're being recorded right now, Anne.
There you go. It's your chance.
I mean,
YouTube star.
So I
Right.
will share with you all a method to dealing with video like this, because my kids and Tammy's kids probably know this. But you can play videos at a faster rate, and people just talk really fast, but you can still hear what they're saying. See, like
my kids taught me that too, Cheryl. And the way the computer does it, it's not like the old-fashioned tape players, which would go.
right, yeah.
You really just talk really fast, like you said. So yes, that's a good. It's true. We perfected it in this household when people were trying to fit in required reading at the end of the summers. And every other book was checked out, but the audio books were always still available.
And
So
they're
you could
better
just
now.
in every room, everybody was going.
It used to only be able to do like 1.25. Now you can do 1.1. You can really.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine grain it. Yeah.
Who really takes advantage of that? We had a blind young blind woman who came and talked to Rotary last year, or it had to be the year before because last year didn't exist. And so, and she was a law school student at Harvard, and all of her books came in, all of her textbooks had to come in this convertible format to reading, and she could just read it really fast, and that's how she learned all of her schoolwork, all of the reading that an attorney has to do, she did through her ears. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
So Denise and Cheryl, are we finished?
But
I think we might be. Is there any other issues? Denise, are we good, do you think?
I think we are good. I just want to establish that Anne is going to be chair, whatever the Latin term is, acting chair for the time being.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that, Anne? Or are we just being very self-sacrificing?
yeah, I'm okay. I just don't want you to have to do it, Cheryl. I'm not going to be as excellent as some people would be, but I think it's good that you get to get rid of it. You get to do, because you got enough on your hands with being chairman. So I'll work on being more informed than I have been for this committee, and then and we'll communicate among us and make sure I don't let much fall through the cracks.
Yeah, I apologize also to everybody for not adequately prepared for this evening.
So, Anne, you'll do the follow-up to the History Commission tomorrow then, or before the March meeting?
Which
Yeah,
is in
or at the March.
Right?
Or at the March meeting, or
Is it 2 days?
It's in 2 days.
So when it says inventory committee report, I'll do that.
well, yes, you would do that as well, but somebody has to distribute. I'm happy to do it, but I'm just establishing who is going to distribute the nomination to the entire History Commission.
But Denise, were
let
you
me-
saying that we could get the April meeting?
No, we vote in
That's
April.
for the
They have to get it in March in order to vote in April. They have to get it in 2 days.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, so we present it to the commission a month ahead of the vote?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I didn't.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't.
They have
remember
to have
that. I
they
didn't
have to have a
remember
month
that
to
either.
read it.
Yes.
Theoretically.
So the History Commission has a month to read it, so it needs to be out before March 3rd, or at March 3rd.
It
It could,
has-
So it'll be for which,
Yes,
and it's Monday, it's on Wednesday this week, they should get it. And we will at that point say, when you present it, that the criteria of significance has changed.
Okay. And
Right.
But
we're,
go on.
go on. I was just going to say I have to send out the updated agenda. I was going to disperse all of the different reports into that agenda so that people could read the whole thing as a single narrative. So I can also send out this we're sending out the nomination.
yes, the nomination along
with
right the
recommendation.
change of significance.
Right. Okay. And do we also send them our recommendation at that time, or?
Well, you're moving it forward, so that would be your recommendation. You are recommending to the commission that they review it as a whole. It's come out of committee now.
Coming out of committee to the commission, a favorable decision with an understanding that the criteria of significance has changed, has been expanded, whatever that need somebody used.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Sounds good. So since
And so, when that is sent initially by email with a cover note that covers the reframing.
What we just
Is
said.
that all that is sent? What you just
Yes,
said?
Yes, and I think that Cheryl is going to do that when she sends out the agenda. It will just be an attachment.
Right.
I think that's what we just established.
yeah, I can do that.
I don't have to do it.
And then I will go back to the nominator, the
Right.
person we nominate, and tell that person that the History Commission is going to be considering it under a different criteria, but it did come out of committee.
Right. Favorably.
And
Right.
I'll note, and from now on,
Done.
communications would come from you as acting chair.
Okay.
Yes, you would
And,
need to change that too.
And in terms of minutes, they're in fact very short minutes. If we play our cards right, that basically say that it was discussed and this was the action taken. Is there
Two
more
actions.
than that?
Add the plaque to that in the plaque.
Correct. And is that something you'd like me to do?
Yeah, why don't you make that report, Anne? Yeah. I think that's
I'm not
later.
say, and then he said, and then she said this, and then she said that.
No. We had the discussion, moved it from committee and appointed you as the chair, appointed you, or somebody appointed you as acting chair, and we moved on the plaque.
And
Right.
whatever we're gonna work on next time.
Right.
And what we're going to work on next.
Yeah, and you said,
And we said, and we
said
called
date.
another
you
meeting.
set a date, yeah.
Yep, that's it.
Okay. You'll tell me when I leave anything out. I know you will.
Okay. I think now we're done.
Now we're done.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you for your patience and your wonderful idea that helped us do this.
Very important.
Thank you for the criteria, giving us a larger picture here.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Fine.
I think it helped a lot.
I
Yep,
think so too.
absolutely.
It really did. It just made it work. Made it sing. Good
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for getting this. And now I can call the land use attorney that calls me every month.
Yes, well, again, remember this, COVID held things up.
Yes, exactly. No, I know. And everybody has to understand that we're all working through very trying circumstances.
Exactly. Exactly.
So true, too. All right, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very
We are
good.
adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Excellent, thank you.
Take care.
See you in a couple days.
It's only Monday. Take care.